What up, party people? Hey, hey, hey. I sound like a dork. We got a half-hearted horn there.
It's broken so many times. This thing is it's beyond its last legs.
Yeah, it's it's Willem Dafoe at the end of Platoon. That horn. Um, yeah. Hello, hi, welcome to the Jared Cast. My name is Jared Uncannon. With me is the lovely, talented co-producer, co-host Jared Lombardo.
Hey.
For the 100th time.
Oh my
Guys,
god. Wow.
episode 100.
Who did it? We now
I
have more episodes than listeners. That's crazy.
funny because it's true. But thank you, all of you who've checked out our episodes in the past. I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. Jared, how do you feel now that we've reached episode 100?
Good. Older and wiser. I don't know. It's been a fun ride. I feel like it's gotten less and less frequent that we record, but it still feels special every time. It's still like something about getting back in the saddle. Always feels great, you know.
I agree. Yeah, it's like it's a different, it's a different flavor of excitement that I get before recording, and I relish it every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as you saw in the title, we are doing our top 10 favorite movies of all time. But we
Kinda.
added we added a little bit of a handicap to keep it fair and keep the list diverse in terms of the reach of our in order to add variety to the titles represented. So basically, we did 10 genres and we did one pick for every genre. So it's a top 10. And then we have two runner-ups for each one, just to show you that we actually watch other movies. Uh,
Yeah.
and because we probably, I know for myself, I felt bad. I still feel bad about kicking out drama.
Yeah.
We
It's just
might need.
too broad. Everything's a drama. Every single movie on this list, except for my comedy, is drama, basically, in
Yeah,
some way.
that's true. But then there were some that didn't fit in another genre that were
hmm
dramas, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Uh,
My favorite movie of all time is like half-assed into one of these because it's like 90% drama, but I couldn't not include it. So like
exactly, exactly.
so
Um,
maybe we'll do a part 2 or something. Episode 200 is going to be crazy.
it's definitely going to be crazy. Um, yeah. Or if we run out of ideas, we'll just do it next episode.
Yeah. See you guys next time for our top 10 dramas.
or top 10 or another top 10 with 10 more genres cuz so for this one
Mm.
we went pretty broad with it. We did comedy, horror,
Mm. Mm.
romance,
Oh.
thriller,
Ah.
action,
Wow.
sci-fi,
Ooh.
fantasy, crime,
Ooh.
western,
Ah.
and musical. Nothing for western.
I said ah.
Oh, okay. I didn't. It just is the zoom delay.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, this this is gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
fun one.
I'm
So
excited.
Jared,
Mm.
would you like to start us off by picking any of those 10 genres?
Sure. I will start with sci-fi because I kind of already mentioned it. This is the one that I half-assed my favorite film into
Yeah.
because I don't know, it doesn't really fit many genres. We threw around the idea of having animation, but then that kind of belittles it as like a genre film too. So mine is animated. It is a kind of a short film, but it's just long enough to skate into the rules of a feature film. And it's such a beautiful day by
Ooh.
Don Hertzfeldt. Experimental drama, sci-fi, comedy kind of. And it's the only movie that has made me cry every single time I've seen it. I've probably seen it 10 plus times at least. Probably way more than that. And every single time I weep like a little baby. There's just something about it. Um, yeah, it's hilarious. Don Hertzfeldt. If you're not familiar, you might know the Rejected shorts. It was kind of his big claim to fame in the 2000s. And this one is powerful, man. I highly, highly recommend it. For some runners up, I've got 2001. I feel like it's kind of the classic, most sci-fi. I've also got like Ex Machina and Children of Men as some other runners up.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I didn't even consider that as a possibility for sci-fi, so that's a really good insight.
Hmm.
And I'm glad it made your top 10 because I know how much you love that movie. And
Yeah,
yeah, it well, the first time I saw it, it was on your recommendation, and it really got under my skin.
yeah, dude.
Um,
It's like my biggest fear, but also I'm laughing at it.
for sure, for sure. And yeah, of course, I knew 2001 would at least be a runner-up, if not your number one sci-fi. So
Hmm.
I didn't include it in mine, but fantastic pick as well.
Thanks.
We do match on Ex Machina as a runner-up for my sci-fi.
Ooh, okay.
Uh, and then for my other runner-up, I have Alien. Um, I was struggling to choose because I wanted at least one Ridley Scott sci-fi in there. I
Yeah.
think what's great about Alien, Blade Runner, and The Martian is that all of them focus on like working class scientists. Like none of them are very elitist. Like, before Alien, like literally, it was just what War of the Worlds that was the
Yeah.
last like sci-fi that represented us. And I really love that Alien kind of deals with the dirty, grimy, but it's still like engineers, it's still computer scientists, it's still people
Hmm.
trying to deal with this absurd scientific concept of a perfect killing machine, something that's designed entirely to deal with to be the yeah like a perfect life form.
Hmm.
And the idea of the androids too. That's something that Ridley Scott also dove into later on in his career. So yeah, I had to go with Alien as a sci-fi. But my number one sci-fi is Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky. This was kind of my gateway into slow cinema. This movie is not for everybody. It is very challenging. It is very um, it's something that you actually have to dig into with a steak knife and a fork, and it's really like meaty. But it's the only sci-fi I've seen that transcends science fiction and becomes a spiritual experience. Um, I know some people had that with Blade Runner 2049. I did too the first time I saw it, but Stalker is just the gift that keeps on giving. The unforgettable images. Who would have thought that a 4 by 3 Russian slow ass 3 hour movie would be up here, but it is. I love Stalker. I love
Yeah.
Stalker.
I'm kind of shocked. I thought Alien would dethrone it for you.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't seen Stalker. My Tarkovsky bug hasn't bit me yet, but maybe that'll change yet. Um, some great picks though. Absolutely excellent.
Yep. 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 Um, Next up, let's do. I am most curious to hear your favorite musicals because we don't really talk about
Mm,
musicals that often.
no, we do not.
Um, so I go first in musicals, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. Um, Yeah, my runner-ups are two classics for a reason. I tried to do one classic, one modern for every single one,
Yeah, that's
um,
kind of where I was at too.
but I just couldn't find a musical for me that was better than The Sound of Music and Singing in the Rain. For me, those two kind of shape what I think of musicals, and
Hmm.
they are the bar for that reason. The Sound of Music is an interesting pick because it's not even really the best dancing. But it's maybe the only classic musical that works with or without the music.
True.
If you took every single song out of it, it'd be an amazing story about this family that escaped Nazi Germany and this woman that found meaning and purpose in life.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love those movies. But the best musical that I've ever seen. is All That Jazz by Bob Fosse, starring Roy Scheider. I don't know if you've seen this one.
I have not. No,
So,
you're
so
2 for 2.
Bob Fosse basically he directed the original Chicago play
Mhm.
and was editing his his Lenny Bruce biopic at the same time, and like almost
Okay.
died of exhaustion. And he made a movie about that. About
Okay.
and so he has Roy Scheider like freaking Sheriff Brody like dancing and singing and playing himself, and he's just this totally sleazy, drugged up maniac who's also a genius. And yeah, it's some of the best musical sequences you'll ever see. It's a mix of classic and contemporary, best choreography I've ever seen in a movie ever.
Hmm.
And just and like as a fellow editor, dude,
Yeah.
it's the one. It's the one.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah,
That sounds fucking rad.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that sounds great. My we don't talk about musicals a lot because I don't really like them that much. I mean, I do, but I'm not like I. The mood to watch a musical is like once a year for me. It's not something. It's not a genre I'm always going back to. If there's one that comes out and it's getting a lot of hype and it seems worth it, I'll dig in. But usually, if I'm just sitting down to watch a movie, I'm not really reaching for musicals. Um, that said, there is one that's been a pretty consistent watch whenever that does happen. You mentioned it already. It's Singing in the Rain. It's just
Fuck
the
yeah.
perfect musical for me. Like it's lighthearted, but it's got a great story. It's got one of my favorite comedic relief characters ever in Cosmo. The songs are great. The choreography is great. It's just maybe like the most lovable musical ever made. So it had to be a easy number one pick for me. Um, I also have La La Land and Tarzan as my musicals.
I love that Tarzan's in there. I
I was
love
like,
that
how
so much.
most Disney movies count, so I might as well do the Disney movie with the best music, and that's Tarzan, hands
Yeah.
down. So,
Yeah. It didn't make either one, but I had Tangled floating in between musical and romance because
mm,
it's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, love Tarzan, love Singing in the Rain, as I mentioned before. But yeah, you said that so beautifully. It's the perfect musical.
yeah. Can't find a single thing wrong with it. Another genre that I feel like leans in your wheelhouse more than mine. Um, I'm curious to hear what you thought, so we're going to do that one next, and that's crime.
Oh,
I do love a good crime movie. I'm digging into these ones way more than musicals for sure. But I feel like if there's an aficionado between us, it's not me. um, that said, this will be, unless you count, I guess, I guess technically it's Such a Beautiful Day's Canadian, so it's technically foreign. But this is my first foreign film so far, and that's City of God. Um,
fuck yeah.
absolutely love this movie. Some of my favorite editing of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time. This is probably a top three for me. I mean, all of these are one of my favorites of all time, but like this one's up there, up there. I absolutely love it. I love how broad it is in scope, from childhood to like adulthood. You just fall in love with these characters. All the performances are absolutely impeccable, especially for non-actors. It's crazy what the directors pulled out of them. Yeah, this one is just such a fun watch, endlessly rewatchable, and I absolutely adore it.
Fuck yeah.
Oh,
Excellent pick.
and honorable mentions. I had Pulp Fiction and Goodfellas. I'm team Goodfellas over Godfather. I'm sorry. I just love that shit. You have to have some Scorsese on here mentioned, and Goodfellas is the creme de la creme for me.
It is the creme de la creme, and it is my pick as my
Oh, it
favorite
is?
crime movie ever. Yeah, I love Goodfellas. I think it is Scorsese's masterpiece. Besides the Raging Bull and Taxi Driver, Taxi Driver is also a very different crime story, but for me, it was a runner-up.
Hmm.
The other runner-ups that I had were The Godfather and Old Boy.
Mm.
Old Boy is fantastic because it is a crime story, but it's more about the nature of like punishment and revenge and
Yeah.
self-loathing, and I love that about it. I love that Taxi Driver um, is like a portrait of crime from the perspective of the worst person in the world, and a horrible sociopathic racist maniac just shitting on New York City. Like I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. When Paul Schrader was writing the movie, he said I had to write Travis Bickle because I needed to purge him from my soul, and you feel
Damn.
that like it's so personal to him.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that movie, and The Godfather. I love the romance in it. I love like not even not romance in the sense of like love story, but just that it's a romantic a tragedy. Like it feels like something that could have come out in the 50s had um, the technology existed and had the censors not been there. Um, it's such an interesting art house film because of how beautifully constructed it is and how tight it is, despite its 3 hour runtime. But to
Hmm.
me, all of them bow down to Goodfellas. I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's the ultimate mob movie. It sucks you in to the and seduces you into the life of a gangster, and then shows you like crazy how these crazy animals really tick and what really makes them go. And yeah, I love it so much.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love that it really puts you in his shoes because it's like it draws you in the same way he's like, oh, all I've ever wanted to be was a gangster.
Yeah,
And it makes you like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of on board. And it's like, this is what happens,
yeah,
motherfucker. This is the life you want. And it's great. It's great. You also mentioned Old Boy. That was one of the ones that I rewatched for the purposes of fleshing out this list. And my girlfriend next to me was like, "This is the weirdest fucking movie you've ever watched," because I had like headphones in, and she didn't know. Not that she speaks Korean, anyways, but like she had no idea what was going on, and she'd look over and some dude eating an octopus. So that's also a great one worth a mention for sure.
yeah. The octopus scene is what I use to sell the movie to my friends. I told it to my English teacher. I was like, okay, this is the only revenge movie that's not a remake of Hamlet. You have to watch this movie.
True.
And and he's like, okay. He's like, what's so great about it? He's like, he eats a real octopus. The real actor eats a real octopus because the only thing he wants is to eat after years in prison is just to eat something alive. And
Yeah.
my teacher was like, okay. And then
Yeah.
like years later, when I graduated college, I had a beer with him, and
Mhm.
he was like, yeah, that was a fucking awesome movie. You're like,
Yeah, it's great. It's weird. It's incestuous, but it's such a good movie. I love it.
so good. Um, Shout out to Heat as well, which did not make my
Yeah,
list,
I thought
but
that was going to be your number one, to be honest, or at least honorable mention. Maybe not number one, but
yeah,
that
it's
crew's good, man.
it's a magical one. It's a magical one. Let's brighten things up a bit
Hmm.
with romance. Let's hear your favorite romance. Or no,
Um,
I my favorite romance. Right?
yeah, let's hear
Sorry,
your
sorry, sorry.
favorite romance, and then you'll hear mine. You still get to, but you got to
My
wait a
favorite
sec.
romance is Your Name. I love this movie.
Hmm.
I love the idea of falling in love with uh, of characters falling in love with each other by seeing how uh, by seeing the world from their perspective. I think those are always the coolest things, and this is the whole movie. That's what this movie's about. I think the second half of it just nonstop tears, because of how how badly I want these two to end up together and how badly I want them to save each other. And uh, I don't want to spoil the end. Um, but oh, it's not the end. It's not the end. But in the second half of the film, they're like, I need to remember this person's name, and instead of writing his name, he writes, "I love you," and I'm like, I weep every time. I weep every time. It's so
Mhm.
damn good.
Yeah.
Of course, I have to have some anime representation on here, man. I love your name. I love your name. The other runner-up is another anime. This one's from Studio Ghibli. It's called Whisper of the Heart.
Mhm.
It's a nice. It's a young love story. They're still like in junior high, so it's not really like, but um, it's the kind of like just it's about that innocent young love that like where you find that first spark in yourself
Mhm.
because of what someone else sees in you. And I think that's just so romantic, so cool, so cute, and when when the characters make music together and when they write stories together, it's just really it's something else, man. And then my other runner-up was Chungking Express by Wong Kar-wai. This is just the sexiest movie ever made, man. It is so damn good. And the like everybody in the movie is so hot that you forget how crazy and sick they are. Um, there's the guy literally is so heartbroken that he eats like dozens of canned pineapple, and can't stop eating. And you're just like, yeah, this guy's just a sexy half Japanese, half Taiwanese man sitting in Hong Kong. Like, I'm with it. I'm with it.
I'm on board.
Yeah, and like the girl is like like huge stalker status, like totally disturbing if you look at it objectively. But because you're looking at it from a perspective, and because
Mhm.
it's so unapologetically romantic, I think yeah, that's just I just had to go with it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I had a feeling this might be your number one, but I don't know. You're kind of a fiend for some good rom com, so I thought I might be surprised too. I think I watched this with you the first time. I think it was you and Angela like nerding out about it. We all sat down or something.
Your
Maybe
name?
I'm yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but either way, it's a great movie. It's a great pick. I absolutely love it. It kind of opened the doors to modern anime for me. Like, but for Your Name, I was like just Studio Ghibli, and like that's the only Japanese animation I would touch. And so this was, I was like, okay, I'm on board a little bit.
Fuck yeah.
And so that's powerful right there, I guess. It is not my favorite romance, however. My favorite romance is Amelie. I love it, dude. It's so great. It's like if Wes Anderson was actually European. Um, it's got like maybe the greatest score of all time. It's
Yeah.
got maybe the most lovable character of all time. It's got whimsy out the asshole. It's beautifully shot. The production design's gorgeous. Um, and man, you just root so hard for everything she does in this movie.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's got a big smile on my face the whole time. It was the first foreign film I showed my girlfriend, uh, and it's like one of her favorite movies ever now. So it's also got that little secondary personal attachment. It's just off the charts delightful is really the only way to put it. Also some delightful romance. I'm a white guy film major, so I have to include her. I'm contractually obligated. there's no there's no way around it. All right,
Zero surprise.
they take my degree away if I don't, so I have to. I also have It Happen One Night, one that we've reviewed on here that is an absolute 10 out of 10. You could pretty much sub in any old screwball comedy here too. And also, honestly, for a bit, I was considering The Big Sick as my favorite romance. I absolutely love it. I think it's great.
It's a great movie. All of your picks are great. I love It Happened One Night, as we mentioned in a previous
Hmm.
episode. Her, we still have not done an episode on her.
No, I think it's one
Uh,
of our banned movies, isn't it?
okay, because we've talked so much about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I tell everybody who I meet who's a screenwriting major or studying screenwriting, I'm like, just read it. Like
Yeah.
that's all you need is reading this script, and you're set.
Hmm.
And then yeah, man, I fucking zero surprise if you at the Amelie pick.
Yeah, yeah. I'm nothing if not predictable.
No, no. I'm sure the other genres, but I was like, yeah, he's got this one
Mhm.
covered. We're good. We're
Yeah.
good.
Also, we'll move to another predictable pick, and that's horror.
Ooh.
We're gonna do one of the heavy hitters for us. Um, this one's already been mentioned. It's one of your favorite sci-fi movies. I think it was the winner of our Halloween bracket
It was.
years ago, and that's Alien. It just doesn't get much better than this, honestly. It
Yeah.
just does not. It's so dark and terrifying. It was my first rated R movie, so it's got big personal roots down in traumatizing me as a young boy. Um, it's got great leads. Every single crew member on this ship, I love and I care for, and they feel like a friend. Like I just want to sit down and banter over a beer with all of them. It's scary as fuck. It's one of
Yeah.
the old. It's maybe like the oldest horror that still like shakes me every time I watch it. And it's so inventive. It's so perfect. That's all it comes down to. It's perfect. Some runners up. Shaun of the Dead. Was an easy runner up. I love horror comedies, and between like this and What We Do in the Shadows, it's tough to pick my favorite horror comedy, but Shaun of the Dead just beats it out. I absolutely love it. And Hereditary, I feel like it's kind of a broken record to include it, but I think for like modern horror, it's hard to top.
Yeah. I agree. There's a few modern horrors that I considered, but I there was the one modern horror that I included for my runner up was Audition,
Hmm.
because
I
that
thought
one
that might be your number one.
it was close. It was close.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think for every single one of your picks, and even branching out further to the Thing or to Psycho, like I think all of those movies that you mentioned would be like objectively better than the three that I had picked.
Hmm.
But
It's not about what's better. It's about your favorite.
yeah, exactly. Like these ones shook me the most and still shake me when I watch them. And so
Mhm.
Audition and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre are my runner-ups
Mm.
to Possession, which was it's just a weird transformative experience for me and totally hypnotic and um, twisted and gross and made me gag, made me hate the world and love the world and hate humanity and love humanity all at the same time in this twisted orgy of emotion. And I could say the same thing about Audition. I could say the same thing about the Texas
Mhm.
Chainsaw Massacre. I think, despite their flaws, these movies uh, kind of shape what I think of when I want what they shape what I want from horror now. Like I don't want horror to like scare me anymore. Like I want it to like ruin my day.
Yeah.
and and I guess I can't afford therapy, but I guess a future therapist could watch this episode and take what they will from that.
Yeah. They can watch any of our episodes and write some reports now, that's for damn sure.
But yeah, if you can handle it, I highly recommend you guys
Mhm.
watch those three because
Yeah.
holy shit, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of day ruining horror, I finally watched the first Terrifier. That was
Oh,
another movie I watched this week. That day that ruined my day for sure.
yeah.
Now I should
Second one's
go
a
see
lot
the
more fun.
second. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a great time with it, but
Okay.
damn. Yeah, but also damn about Possession because that shit is crazy, and Audition for that matter. The
Yeah.
build. It's funny. Both of those I feel like have such a strong build to like specific scenes. Like they
Yeah.
both just kind of crescendo and release then, and it's worth it. It's worth every minute up to and after. Some fantastic picks.
Definitely. Definitely. And it's worse when you on the rewatch too, which because you know it's
Because you
coming.
know it's coming. You're like scared of pianos now.
Yep. 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 I have a feeling I know what your favorite Western is, um, but I still, I still,
I'll make you guess after.
I still would love to hear it after I talk about my picks, which were The Searchers. That's my pick for the best Western. Not The Hotel for yeah. Lame Jokes by Jared A. Um,
Hey, 100 episodes in, we're still doing it.
for classics, I chose Once Upon a Time in the West, and for modern, I chose Unforgiven. I think these three kind of like horror, like because I like a lot of westerns. I think it's a perfect like turn your brain off genre, and a perfect, I guess, uh, a perfect way to kind of nutshell various American ideals and have them clash against each other. I think it's the perfect genre for that. I think what's interesting about Unforgiven is that it does that in a postmodern way. I think what's interesting about Once Upon a Time in the West is that it does it in a very archetypal way, but still feels modern. Um, Sergio Leone takes a lot of the tropes, the kind of good guy, bad guy, kind of in the middle guy, uh, and the people in between who are suffering. He kind of takes all those things that he's been working on his entire career and makes them just really, really excellent in Once Upon a Time in the West. And with
Hmm.
Unforgiven, yeah, postmodern, kind of everything sucks. This is not what you thought it was. Fuck tradition, but also we're going to make it badass. But also we're going to make you feel sick about wanting it to be badass. And then The Searchers, I think, is just a perfect movie. Uh, Martin Scorsese, Paul Schrader, and Steven Spielberg have all said that their entire careers they're just remaking The Searchers, and it's true. Like
Yeah.
Ethan is a Paul Schrader protagonist minus the diary. Like he's a really horrible, terrible, bitter, racist. Um, he's lost and alone, and you're sucked in by that. You're sucked into that story, and
Mhm.
you just it's really really it's got some of the best landscape best uses of a western landscape that I've ever seen. Best cinematography, best opening and closing shot juxtaposition, and for me my favorite performance by John Wayne.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fantastic pick. I feel like same with like Goodfellas and 2001. I feel like The Searchers is kind of like the quintessential like western. Like it
Yeah,
just hits every beat it needs to, executes it perfectly, doesn't lollygag or waste your time at all.
yeah.
It just nails it all the way through. It's a great pick. What do you think my favorite western is?
I'm 99% sure it's Blazing Saddles.
You're 100% correct. It's Blazing Saddles. Yeah, it's just so good. It was tough not to do like all just great parodies like Shaun of the Dead and Blazing Saddles for my list, but it would it would just be kind of boring. It'd be a lame list. But I think this is endlessly hilarious and offensive and perfect. It picks apart the genre, but in a loving way that like would makes you fall in love with it all over again. As somebody who didn't like grow up watching a lot of westerns, I don't typically get drawn to a lot of westerns, but Blazing Saddles puts such a spotlight on the genre that it makes me fall in love with them and crave watching The Searchers, watching every single other western I'd like. So I still think it's a hilarious mockery of the genre, but a perfect love letter to it. It is my favorite western. Um, I was gonna come out and say my favorite was Star Wars if you had got it wrong. Um, just to kind of fuck with people. It's not. Go fuck yourself. My runners up were for modern. I love Hell or High Water.
Mm.
I absolutely adore it. I think it's a lot of fun. Some amazing side characters. The main plot is um, just great. It's a lot of fun. This was one that I watched. I used to go to a lot of La La Land fits into this too. A lot of like pre-releases for movies where they would be like a tester crowd to gauge the audience's reaction and stuff. And Hell or High Water was one of those. My dad and I stood in line for like an hour and a half, and we were the last people into the theater. And we were like
Fuck yeah.
very back, like shitty seats, but we loved it. We had a great time. It was a near perfect modern western, if not a perfect modern western. Um, also love Fistful of Dollars. The Searchers was up there. I had a lot of runners up, but none came close to Blazing Saddles. This might have been the first one that was locked in on my list.
Yeah, I knew it as soon as you suggested the genre. Or was it?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was me or you, but it's probably you.
I think
Um,
so.
yeah, fantastic pick. Fantastic pick.
Thank you. Thriller. Why not? Let's do some thrillers.
Okay.
Uh, mine's also probably pretty predictable on this. It's one that I rave about constantly in a script I'm writing. The B plot of the episode is literally a rip off of this movie. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite Hitchcock film.
Uh,
It's Rear Window. Yeah, the forced perspective is uh, strenuous on my nerves, even when I watch it now, knowing everything that's about to happen. The helplessness you feel is intense. The mystery of it is intense. Even like the romance subplot is delightful to watch. It's also just a story about two people learning to love their differences from each other and embrace who they are. But underneath it is just a great mysterious thriller. I absolutely love it. Um, some some runners up. Old Boy, I patted under this. That's the thing about genres. All of these probably apply to 16 others.
yeah.
It's great. See 30 minutes ago when we were raving about it. And No Country for Old Men. This was another one that was like big with my dad and I. We still quote this shit all the time. One of the most terrifying movie villains for me. Um, Maybe my favorite Javier Bardem role, but that's hard because he's always perfect. Um, it's just great. It's so threatening and ominous the whole time. I absolutely love it.
I love No Country for Old Men. Top tier Coen Brothers movie. Top tier
Hmm.
thriller.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got some Coen Brothers in here because I didn't have any.
Mm.
But yeah, great, great, great picks. I was actually predicting Seven would be, or
Mm.
Zodiac would be up there.
Yeah, it's weird. I have zero Fincher and zero Villeneuve on my on my list, despite them being like my two favorite directors.
Yeah. Nope. Arrival very narrowly missed sci-fi.
Same.
It's just
Yeah, and
Ex
Zodiac
Machina so damn
was
good.
right there for this too.
Yeah, but no, yeah, that's the Rear Window, fantastic, absolutely fantastic, a perfect. I think it was my first Hitchcock, and I think it's the perfect gateway into that genre and into the suspense.
Hmm.
one that I would not recommend as a gateway, but I still would recommend as a movie is Mulholland Drive. If it counts as a thriller, I don't know because
Yeah,
it's also
it's hard to pin down, but
it's
I think
hard
it would.
it's hard to pin down. There are some very suspenseful and very frightening moments in the movie,
Hmm.
and then there are also some really funny moments and also some really confusing moments. Ultimately, I feel I leave the movie thrilled and full of sorrow. And so I included it in here because it's my favorite Lynch film, and because it shook up the way I thought a mystery should go, and the
Hmm.
way like I approach mystery thrillers now is different after I've seen this movie because I've seen this movie. And I love that about Mulholland Drive. I love that the movie is a mystery thriller in the sense that it's like in the meta sense as well. Like people are still trying to figure it out,
Hmm.
um, and he refuses to give people the keys to unlock it. Um, although I did read that there are clues on the back of the DVD or on the inside cover of the DVD. They like ask questions like, um, "Who gives a key? Where is her aunt?" It's like, oh, okay. I guess it makes sense. I
Hmm.
guess I don't know.
Guide you a little bit.
Um, for a classic thriller, I chose The Night of the Hunter. Sadly,
Hmm.
Charles Lawton's only film as a director,
Yeah.
but I think it's a perfect suspense thriller. Very abstract, very reminiscent of German expressionism with its chiaroscuro lighting, but also like in its darkness and it's really dark subject matter about a serial killer who marries women and kills them and kills their children. It's absolutely haunting and insane. Um, the scene that I think of that makes it onto this list would be when he's singing the hymn and then she's singing
Hmm.
the hymn right back to him,
Yeah.
and there's two completely different meanings, one about condemnation and one about salvation. And even though it's the same lyrics, it's just a perfect battle between light and dark,
Hmm.
and goodness and evil. And then Silence of the Lambs is my other runner-up. It was going back and forth between Mulholland and Silence. I never stop talking about Silence of the Lambs. It's my favorite movie of the '90s. It's I think one of the best, most influential uh, mystery thrillers ever made. You know, it's the only movie. It's the I s no no I don't know actually I shouldn't say that, but yeah, it won best supporting actor, best actress, best director, best picture all on the same night for a reason.
Hmm.
Um, that movie came out a month after the previous, or no, it came out in February, which was a month before the Oscars of the previous year, and people were so struck by it that it won the following Oscar
Yeah.
ceremony.
It's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
um, Jonathan Demme's crowning achievement, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed. Um, And it's crazy that Anthony Hopkins is like, it's like kind of his like main role that people like know him and love him for. And he's got like 40 words. Like he's
Yeah,
like barely in it. He's like 15 minutes of screen time or something. It's crazy. Amazing movie. Same with Mulholland Drive. I was waiting for Lynch to claim his throne somewhere on this list for you. And this is a rightful place for it for sure. And Night of the Hunter, man, that's one that slipped through the cracks when I was making my list. That's a great fucking movie. Um, Haunting and horrible. I had a teacher in community college film class who this goes back to episode one, baby. Westerns that aren't really westerns. He showed us that, trying to make a case that it was like a neo western.
hmm.
Um, and I mean, he made an okay case for it, but as a thriller, it's one of the best for sure. If you haven't seen it, fucking watch it.
Agreed, agreed. Um, I don't know. Let's do let's do fantasy.
Mhm.
Fantasy. Uh, I got some more anime running up. Uh,
We.
Spirited Away. It's the most cliche pick, but I
Yeah.
had to keep it here because it's a fucking 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's amazing. I find it interesting that Disney went so hard in the promotion for it and in marketing the movie to the entire world, even though Miyazaki kind of made the movie as an anti-Disney movie.
Hmm.
Um, I love that about it. I love that the fantasy elements have a social message, a dramatic message, and um, feel kind of old fashioned, still feel like an old fashioned romance. You know, it's something that can speak to our modern world while also making us feel at home and making us feel like family and love um, and sacrifice can still be highly valued and cherished.
Hmm.
I love that about Spirited Away, and I love every character, every weird and wacky monster in it. My other runner-up is Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. I think it's the most complete of those trilogy, even though I probably have the most fun with the Two Towers. I think Fellowship is the most rewatchable and the most yeah, just complete piece of work. And then my number one fantasy is Hero by
Hmm.
Zhang Yimou. It's the only wuxia kung fu movie that's on my list. Um, I think wuxia is very loosely fantasy, but it still sort of counts. It's folklore-ish, and it kind of speaks about the unification of China. The movie came out right after, not right after, but a few months after 9/11, and I think a lot of people were kind of criticizing the movie because it was like pro communist Chinese party, but like actually no, the director was like, actually no, it's like I just wanted the world to kind of feel unified after such a horrible thing happened to so many
Hmm.
people. And the movie is amazing. It's beautifully structured, beautifully colored. It's got all your favorite Hong Kong and Chinese actors in it. Um, and yeah, it's a brilliant, brilliant film.
Nice. I haven't seen it. I don't even think you've talked about it with me. Maybe you haven't. I forgot, but kind of surprised.
Yeah, I think I talked about it a lot in college, but then I it's been a
Hmm.
while since I've rewatched it, but it's always been up there for me.
Fair, fair. I'll have to check it out for sure. Um, you had one of my, or you had my favorite as one of your runners up. Spirited Away.
Fuck yeah.
It's so fucking good. I'm a weeb too, motherfuckers. It's yeah, it's literally like a perfect movie. Like I know that's been my blanket critique for a lot of these, but it really is. Even down to the most minute details in the animation, the way she like kicks her foot to get the shoe on and like get the her heel into the lip. Every tiny little detail is there, and it just breathes life into this movie. I've been overdue for a rewatch, and I might like tomorrow because I absolutely love it. It's so good. Very close. This one I went very back and forth on for my favorite. Was Princess Bride.
Oh,
Also made a running for my favorite romance. Um, yeah, it's I forgot. I think I said Amelie might be like the most lovable movie. This also might be the most lovable movie of all time.
100%.
It's absolutely amazing, and Andre the Giant's in it, so instant classic. Um, I also had Pan's Labyrinth as another runner up. I love its dark fantasy. I love the way it ties uh, real world conflict and war into just childlike wonder slash horror. It just threads the needle through perfectly, and it guides you through a perspective that I would never have, and I absolutely love it. It's gorgeous. It put Del Toro on my map, and I've loved pretty much everything he's done since and proceeding.
Fuck yeah, dude. Oh, I can't believe I missed the Princess Bride. That's so good. That's such a great pick. And yeah, I totally agree about Spirited Away, man. So good.
Mhm. We got two left. We are narrowing these down.
We are.
Um, and we'll do the one that I think I might have struggled with this one the most. It's weirdly enough, it's not like a genre that, in its purest form, I go to often, and that's action. I feel like a
Mm.
lot of the movies I like have action, but I'm not like binging the John Wicks. I'm not. That's just not how I am. I have a feeling I know your number one. Um, Mine might surprise you. It's one that you introduced me to on this show, but like the more I thought about it, I just couldn't pick anything above it. It's Con Air.
Hell yeah.
It's just the most fun movie ever, man.
This is the biggest surprise of the year, and I'm so happy. I'm so
Like,
happy.
I don't know. I went back and forth because there are movies that I think have like tugged the nostalgia bone for me, like my runner-up, Dark Knight and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and even like Seven Samurai was like all of those were kind of jumping around to be my top one. But when I thought about like action in its purest form as a genre, um, and which one I have the most fun with and which one I want to watch like right now. If I was gonna watch any of these, it'd be Con Air. It's just it's the tackiest shit you'll ever see in the best way. It pulls on your heartstrings. You'll be giggling your ass off. You'll be cheering at the screen and you'll have a great time. So like I just had to do it.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I love Con Air. I love Con Air. It's not one of my picks, but I love Con Air.
Yeah.
What were your runner-ups?
Dark Knight, Raiders of the Lost
Oh,
Ark,
that's right. Those are yeah.
Seven Samurai. Um,
Gotcha.
can I take a stab at your favorite?
Yeah.
Is it Mad Max? Is it Fury Road?
Yes.
Okay, obviously. I'm not. I know who you are.
Yeah, man. I think the level of like hecticness. I think you talked about action and as a genre in its purest form. I think that my three picks fit that bill. I think they also um, transcend that in some sort of way. I think Mad Max transcends that by basically kind of just becoming like a living comic book almost. Like there's so many long stretches of time in the film that don't have any dialogue. They're completely driven by a stunt or a punch or a scream or something or a hit or an explosion as a story beat. And I think that that is what makes it currently for my money the best action movie of all time. I think that spot previously belonged to Die Hard because when you look at every movie that came out after Die Hard, they all just wanted to be Die Hard.
100%.
Um,
So many people's careers are because Die Hard exists,
yeah,
and they just are trying to be.
yeah. I love Con Air, but there are like 10 movies where it's Die Hard on an airplane. You
Yeah.
know, there are 10 movies where it's Die Hard in underwater. There are 10 movies where it's Die Hard in freaking I don't know a shop. There's Paul Blart Mall Cop is Die Hard in a shopping mall, um, but Die Hard is Die Hard in a building. Man,
Mhm.
it's Die Hard. It's good. It's that good. I love the Raid 2 as my other one. I
Mhm.
think this is as much as I wanted to include a Jackie Chan, and I still probably can. It's the third runner up. A Police Story. But the thing about the Raid 2 is that It takes action and stunt and martial arts choreography and makes it really fucking painful to watch,
Mhm.
while at the same time being badass. And like the way they choreograph the camera movements as well. It's not just like moving it, it's not just shaking it, it's not just adding an effect. It feels like the camera is a part of the stunt itself. And I think that is amazing. Gareth Evans has a. Is it Evans or Edwards? I keep forgetting. Sorry.
Sorry.
Gareth Evans has a Tom Hardy movie coming out soon on Netflix.
Mhm.
It's coming out this year. It's called Havoc. I'm very excited to see it because I know it's going to be just as crazy, but with Tom Hardy. Um, and yeah, I got to go with those, man. I'm sad Con Air didn't make it because I definitely did consider it because it's in episode 2 of the Jared cast, and
Mhm.
because I love that movie so much. Uh, but yeah, man, I had to do Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, and deservedly so. I think the only reason it doesn't make my honorable mentions is because I just missed it in theaters. I don't know why. I just didn't see it in the theater, and so like every time is just like, ah, but it would have been so cool on the big screen, and so like that just kind of like holds it back a little for me.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Alrighty, my friend.
All right,
Last but not least, a
finale.
genre, a genre we both know and love, comedy. You mentioned previously that I didn't have that my romance wasn't loaded with rom-coms. It's because I thought The Apartment was so damn funny that I had it as my runner-up. I think Jack Lemmon's performance in that and Shirley MacLaine is they're so hilarious, and Billy Wilder's direction is so funny that I just had to include it as a top 3 comedy. I had Tampopo as my other runner-up. We've had this on the show, and
Mm-hmm.
I gave it a 10. I still think it's funny. I showed it to Pauline, and she was like, "What the fuck is this movie?" um,
Perfect. Now get out of here.
yeah, uh, but uh, what I think about a perfect comedy, the bar is set at Hot Fuzz.
Hmm.
I think it's not just a perfect comedy where it makes me laugh every time. I think it's damn near perfect cinema. And yeah, the performances, the deliciously villainous Timothy Dalton, the lovely innuendos from uh, Olivia Colman before she blew up. Bill Nye in there, Jim Broadbent in there, and then of course
Hmm.
Frost Pegg as the 2 leads, paying homage to Bad Boys and Point Break, the other 2 greatest movies ever. No, I'm just kidding. Greatest movies to Danny, but
Mm.
yeah, I love 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 Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. Kind of surprised it was your number one. I don't. I mean, it's fucking great. It was one of my runner ups, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I expected Tampopo to take the throne, but I'm very glad Hot Fuzz did. It's a perfect action comedy. It's hilarious. It's Edgar Wright at his best. He's firing on all damn cylinders,
yeah,
and it comes together in such a good way. Um, Surprised you had it over Scott Pilgrim too. Um,
it's true. It's true.
but yeah, I do think Hot Fuzz like makes me laugh more than Scott Pilgrim, and
That
is
that's the
oh
main reason. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't blame you for it. It's an excellent fucking movie. One of my runners up. Also, another one of my runners up you had was Tampopo. Um, and then, but the two at the top, I went back and forth, man, so many times. Literally, like even 5 minutes before we were recording, I was switching back and forth. Might be obvious what the two were. Um, Barely coming in second place is Holy Grail.
Mm,
I love this movie. This is like the movie that is the reason why I love comedy in all its forms. Just anything Monty Python does has a direct line to my funny bone. I know it's like weird, dated, tacky. goofiest shit you could think of. But there's something just so odd and surreal about it that just gets me. It's so clever. Literally, like the four funniest fucking people on the planet getting together and just doing the most absurd stuff they can think of to try to make Americans laugh is like is just how this comes about. Every single scene has thousands of jokes in it, and it every single one of them gets me. But in terms of rewatchability, jokes per minute that will actually land, it's got to be Airplane for me. It's got to be Airplane. This thing is it's got to be the most joke dense movie I've ever seen,
It's
and
up there.
like a 98+% hit rate, which
Yeah.
is absurd. You'll have like visual bits going, and then on a loudspeaker in the airport, you'll have like 16 other jokes being fired while you're laughing at something else. And your brain won't even register it till like your fifth watch. But it's everything is so good. So offensive, but in the funniest and best ways possible. There's a reason that movies like this get a pass because it's just done too perfectly and nobody is spared. Everybody gets made fun of. Um, it's amazing, dude. I could watch this if I had to watch a movie and only one movie for the rest of my life. I'd be the most obnoxious person because I would be quoting this even more than I already do. It's amazing. I love it so much. Um, it just barely beats out Holy Grail, but it does. It's my number one.
Two amazing, amazing, amazing films. Every time uh, uh, a trendy action movie director brags about how long their wonder is,
Hmm.
I'm like, is it better than John Cleese's Killing Spree and Holy Grail? I
Because
guarantee
no.
it's not. um,
Oh my
every,
god.
yeah, it's such a good movie, and yeah, Airplane. My first my first movie with Leslie Nielsen, I think,
Mm,
which is a great way to
probably
start. I
same.
think, yeah. But yeah, I think any movie starring him is going to be perfect, but especially Airplane, where
Hmm.
you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar playing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar disguised as
Listen, kid, I'm not Creed.
so so stupid that they actually got away. That they actually got him to do that.
I'm so glad they did.
um, yeah, it's every single like cutaway to the passengers, not just the crew. Amazing. It's like I speak jive.
Yeah, dude.
um, yeah, the whole line of people slapping the woman.
They've got like bats and shit.
The 7 year old, the 7 year old girl saying, "I like my coffee like I like my men."
But even like the build up to it, like having the kid like mac on her for like six random scenes before, like they're doing setups with like as punchlines throughout. Like every scene is like six punchlines, but each one is a setup for the next scene, and like, ah, it's so good.
We gotta go take some pictures. Stupid. Stupid. Okay. Great list. Great top 10 slash 30. Um, slash, not really a top
Slash
10.
whatever you
Just
want to call it. Slash episode 100.
great
Great
episode
list.
100. Alrighty. Um, thank you, Jared,
Thank you.
for 100 episodes. Holy shit.
Yeah, thank you for carrying the weight on them. Pretty much all of them. Like big props to this guy. He fucking edits them. He's putting them together. He's getting a guest. Like I just kind of show up and talk into a microphone. He's the real hero here.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean it's nothing but a pleasure for me to just talk about movies with you and all our friends and everybody
Mhm.
who got involved with the show. So yeah, you know we're going to be doing this a little less frequently. I know we already have, but
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If you have been listening for this long, and I appreciate you. We both love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Let's go. What a lovely day.
Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jared Cast.
So it begins.